Professor Allan Saxe is on the line right now. Professor is somebody we talked to throughout the entire campaign. He's a political science professor at the University of Texas at Arlington. And, Professor, I'd like to switch gears if you're okay with it.
Sure.
And talk about the ban. Over the weekend, we were told that this is not a ban on Muslims. Yet, Rudy Giuliani went on Fox News over the weekend and said, well, the president came to me and said, I want to ban Muslims, but how can I do that legally? And he said, we crafted this plan for him to do it. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that the White House probably didn't want him to say that. But what's your take on all of this?
Well, President Trump, during his campaign, talked about immigration, that our immigration system is broken. I think he's correct about that. Our borders are porous. People overstaying their visas, coming here with visas, and then they expire and they stay in the country, going to many universities or who knows what they do. Our immigration system is a mess. And President Trump said we've got to stop it for a while before we figure out what to do, and then we'll proceed. I think this is the first step in that. The implementation, I think, was a little bit sloppy. It should have been more proactive. If you want to get rid of visas in some countries, just do it for the future.
Yeah.
Same thing with green cards. But for people who have legitimate visas and are already in the air ready to land, that was really what the sloppiness is all about.
Yeah.
And that's where the federal courts, I think, overturned his ruling.
Well, at the end of the day,
allowed him to come in.
The airport authorities and people at the TSA, I mean, they seemed confused over what they were supposed to do and what they could do and couldn't do. It really was a confusing mess this weekend.
It was confusing.
Yeah.
And I think it just was not thought out very well by the administration. The idea where they were heading is probably correct, but the implementation of it was a little bit raw and ragged. But President Trump is not backing down from it. But I'm amazed how little people know about the history of America and immigration. We've never completely, until now, since 1965 or so, opened our borders so widely. We've always had an immigration policy that at one time was very wide open, another time completely closed.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it, we accepted some people from some countries and not from others. That was called a quota system, and it went on for many, many, many years. So when people say, when they stand up and say very emotionally, that's not who we are, banning all these people, we're a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants, but it's exactly who we are in the sense that our immigration policy has been very restrictive at times and very lenient at various times. And that is the history. And evidently, a lot of people at the Screen Actors Guild last night.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about last night. Well, in fairness, though, Professor, this, I keep using the word unprecedented, this ban signed in with an executive order that was implemented immediately. You can't compare people in the middle of a flight that are flying in, and all of a sudden they're going to be turned away. You can't compare having some of the brightest people in the world who actually work for the United States and are on our side not being allowed into the country. I'm not sure you can compare this. Maybe we could go back to World War II and the Japanese internment. I guess you make some sort of a comparison that was much worse. But
President Trump, it was not well thought out.
Yeah.
It only affected, really, I think, maybe a little over 150.
Couple hundred, maybe,
like that. And on that same day, something like 300,000 people from various parts of the world came into the United States on visas or passports or whatever on just one day. So the United States is still a very open place for people to come to. But the Trump White House issued a very interesting statement just hours ago. And it said something like, our immigration policy, and this was during President Bush's administration, I'm paraphrasing, was so ragged, was so unenforced that Islamic terrorists got into the country and killed 3,000 people or more. And that's what the World Trade Center bombing was all about, or the airplanes crashing into it. So they make some very interesting points. Our immigration policy has been very poorly enforced for many, many years, both under Republicans and Democrats. and President Trump is trying to tighten it up.
Well, I don't know about you, but
he's running into tremendous opposition.
But I'm sorry, I can't agree with you there because did you try getting on an airplane prior to 9/11? And then
yes, I did.
Have you ever gone through customs prior to 9/11? I've done that, and I've done it post 9/11, and it's a whole different world. We just don't let people into the country. It's far more restricted today.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
They were talking about our policy before 9/11.
Before 9/11, which was the big wake-up.
Came in.
Yeah.
I think that the hijackers came in on visas from Saudi Arabia.
Right. And why not Saudi Arabia? Why are they excluded here?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are asking that very same question. It probably has to do with oil and money, and maybe they're helping us in some way to fight terrorism that we don't quite know publicly. That's the only thing that I can imagine. Same thing about Pakistan, that has been a harbinger of terrorists for many, many years. So a lot of people are asking those same questions. What about Pakistan? What about Saudi Arabia? And President Trump spoke, I think, to the Saudi king over the weekend, but we don't know exactly what transpired.
Well, it's fun. I heard the president say something during an interview. I didn't believe it was over. So much happened over the weekend. It's hard to keep track of when anything happened. But he did say that, there's a lot of things that you don't know that the president, as president, I'm privy to secret information. So you're making judgments based on stuff that you really don't know. And that's funny.
Right.
Funny, by the way, coming out of Donald Trump's mouth when he was very vocal when he didn't know what was going on in the Obama administration. But we're right. There's stuff we might not know that might be leading as to why something like this is being done, I guess.
Exactly. But
okay.
I think anybody can say our immigration laws are very poorly enforced. They were poorly enforced under President Bush, under President Obama, and President Trump is trying to bring it back to some kind of coherence and to enforce our laws. Yesterday at the Screen Actors Guild, Lily Tomlin, who won the Lifetime Achievement Award, who I think is a very funny woman as a comedian, she likened Donald Trump to the Nazis, a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
And then she said the Nazis just undid what any laws they wanted to undo. Well, President Trump would probably say the opposite. He would probably say, I'm trying to enforce the laws that are on the books, and people don't like it. It's the very opposite, I think, of what Ms. Tomlin was trying to compare him with.
Okay, Professor Allan Saxe, as always, we love having you on. Thank you so much.
It's going to be wilder this week when a Supreme Court appointment comes down the line.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's right. It's great for the media. We love it.
Lord, it is. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.